Welcome back, Craftology Radio. I'm Tarky, your host for this episode of The Blueprint. Today we're taking a journey into one of the most beloved and at times controversial franchises in gaming history, Fable. Before we begin, this is a brand new series for our team. We're aiming to take you along a journey for the background, the history, development stories, and more on your favorite titles. Please give this a like, subscribe, and comment below to follow along. Now, let's get started. When we think of fantasy RPGs, we often think of grim, serious worlds. But Fable was different. Created by Lionhead Studios and set in the land of Albion, this series became famous for its satirical fairy tale take on British folklore. But more than that, it was defined by choice. In Fable, you weren't just a hero, you were a person who could choose to be a saint or a scoundrel. You could marry, own property, get fat, get thin, or grow horns, depending on your moral standing. The series didn't just ask, will you save the world? It asked, will you save the world? Then buy a local pub and raise the rent. Today we're going to trace the history of this franchise, from its ambitious beginnings in 2004 through the highs of the Xbox 360 era and the quiet years following the closure of Lionhead. And finally, the massive anticipation for the Playground Games Reboot landing in 2027. It all started in 2004. Peter Molyneux, the face of Lionhead Studios, promised an experience like no other. He claimed Fable would revolutionize the RPG genre, and when it finally hit the Xbox, it was met with a mix of awe and frustration. Many of the overambitious promises didn't make the final cut, leading to some early backlash. But here's the irony. Despite missing features, Fable was a massive hit. It was charming, funny, and deeply personal. It proved that players loved the life simulation aspects, the romance, the trading, the social interaction, just as much as the combat. Fable from 2004 was our introduction to the hero's journey, beginning with a tragedy that forces you into a life of heroism. Then, in 2005, the Lost Chapters expanded the version that really cemented the game's legacy. Fast forward to the golden era of the Xbox 360. Fable 2 launched in 2008, set some 500 years later than the previous game. This expanded on everything. It introduced a world moving into the Age of Enlightenment. Magic was fading, science was rising, and the interaction with the world felt more alive than ever. Then Fable 3, released in 2010, set another 50 years after that. Albion was now in the throes of the Industrial Revolution. The game shifted from the simple questioning of political intrigue. You literally had to become the king or queen of Albion and deal with the consequences of your rule. Then the decline came, and we went through a period of the lost years. Every great empire eventually sees a decline, and for Lionhead, it was a difficult road. After Fable 3, the series began to fragment. We saw spin-offs like Fable Heroes and the Kinect-focused Fable The Journey. While some fans appreciated the family-friendly nature of Heroes, the series began to lose the cohesive, singular vision of the original trilogy. Then came the tragedy of 2016. After the cancellation of Project Fable Legends, a cooperative, multiplayer-focused title, Microsoft made the decision to close Lionhead Studios. For many, it felt like the end of Albion. But like any good fairy tale, the story wasn't quite over. Even in the dark times, the community kept the spirit alive. A group of former developers even crowdfunded a card game called Fable Fortune, released in 2018, keeping the name alive when it seemed like the franchise was destined for the history books. Then we entered the resurrection period with Playground Games. In 2018, rumors started swirling, and in 2020, at the Xbox Games Showcase, we got confirmation that we were waiting for. Fable was returning. Playground Games, the studio behind the brilliant Forza Horizon series, was tasked with the reboot. They started building it on the Forza Tech engine, meaning the visual fidelity is going to be light years ahead of what we saw on the Xbox 360, though it hasn't been a smooth road to release. Development is a very complex beast. We saw many trailers over the last few years showing the series keeping its quintessential British wit. And in 2025, the game's release date was shifted from 2025 to 2026. Most recently, the developers updated that timeline. We're now looking at a February 23rd, 2027 release date. Begs the question, why the wait? Microsoft and Playground Games have been adamant. They want to give this game the dedicated moment it deserves. In a historic move for the franchise, it has been confirmed that this new Fable will launch on PlayStation 5 along with Xbox Series S and X and PC. It's a new era for Albion, one that's breaking down the walls for the platform exclusivity. But is this late game release change related to something more corporate? Perhaps the release of GTA 6 slated for the fall of 2026? Your guess is as good as mine. So what's the legacy of Fable? Fable is a series about the cycle of time. We've watched Albion grow from medieval villages to industrial cities. We've seen magic die and machines rise. But at its core, it's about the protagonist. It's about how your choices, from the weapon you carry to the way you treat citizens of a town, shape who you are. Whether you're a fan of the original trilogy or someone excited to jump in for the first time in 2027, the soul of the franchise remains the same. It's a fairy tale where you hold the pen. With Haley Atwell now confirmed to be starring in the upcoming title, and a February 2027 release date locked in, we are closer than ever to returning to Albion. I, for one, cannot wait to see what kind of hero or villain we choose to be next. So what are you most looking forward to with the Fable reboot? Leave your thoughts below and we'll reply to as many comments as we can. If this didn't provide you with enough, we have a bonus for more info. For those of you who want to dive deeper into the world of Fable while we wait for that February release date, don't forget about the novel, Fable, The Belverine Order, by Peter David. It bridges the gap between Fable 2 and Fable 3, following the story of Thomas Kirkman and his manservant James Skelton, as they track a dangerous Belverine. It's a great way to scratch that itch while we wait for February. So, that brings us to the end of today's video. With a major release confirmed for February 2027, are you planning to revisit the original trilogy to prepare for the reboot? Or would you prefer to go into the game with fresh eyes? Let us know in the comments section below. Thanks all for watching. Cheers.